Your body may be carrying stress your mind has learned to ignore. Pain, fatigue, poor sleep, and emotional overwhelm are often treated as separate problems. But what if your body is revealing something you haven't yet recognized? My guest is Daniel Zavrel, founder of Consciouz and creator of the ConsciouzScan Method. He helps people uncover the stress, responses, and subconscious habits that may be quietly shaping how you feel. We have a very special addition to this episode where you will witness Daniel perform a live scan on me and see the results uncovered. So stay with us until the end. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you so much for having me, Rita.
It's good to have you here. This is a really exciting session and I can't wait for the scan. It's going to be so exciting. So, Daniel, tell us exactly what is the ConsciouzScan and how does it work?
Yeah, so it's a very advanced technology where the first steps were being made on Stanford University for the elite forces of the US Army. But that was during the Cold War, where the USSR and the USA were spionizing each other. And then the Russians used it to develop it for their cosmonauts, because it's very costly to get a cosmonaut out of space with, let's say, for example, a liver disease. So they wanted the technology which could already scan the whole body mind before a disease materializing into the body. So they started this huge project. It's billions and billions and billions were invested. And at those times, they could also have all researches done with hospitals, with, for example, liver patients or whatever. And so it took about 50 years to develop this technology in total. And 30 years in the development. And then after the walls went down, the technology came to Germany. And the Germans medically certified it for the EU, at least. I don't use it medically, but it is medically certified. And it's a very advanced quantum physics. And so it measures the so-called bioenergy field in and around you.
So we're actually talking specifically more how stress and burnout have these effects on the body. So how does burnout and stress, which you're measuring through this ConsciouzScan, and people's thoughts, their beliefs, whatever they are, and the impact it has on our organs, what sort of effects do you see happen to the body from people who are being stressed out and burnt out?
Yeah, there are many, but some which show up regularly is one I see often is pressure in the arteries. And so you have the brain, but you also have the arteries in the brain. And so it's for the blood circulation. And there you see with so many people in the West, huge pressure. So then I see values of 5 and 6, which means high entropy, high stress, because of inner pressure. That's one thing. The second one I see a lot is energy loss in the pancreas. And the pancreas is where insulin is produced. Every time when you are pressuring yourself, like being a supermom or a superdad, like having a job and a family, and then your brain thinks a lion or a tiger is hunting me. So you have to produce adrenaline, but you also have to produce glucose for the energy. And then your pancreas has to produce insulin to get the glucose in the cells. And this is what we call the stress triangle. So with many people, this pancreas becomes exhausted. You can get even like for pre-diabetes or even diabetes just from stress. And then I'll see also fear of the future as in the pancreas. And for many people, this is financial fear of the future. And I've also had it with myself. I have a huge family. We have 7 children. And life has become enormously costly. Also back in the Netherlands, like prices are really going mad for rent, for groceries, everything. So even in the so-called rich Netherlands, so many people suffer from financial sorrow. Even like let's say 40 years ago, when you could make it with one salary. And in those days, Netherlands was more conservative. The man was working, the woman was at home with the children, and you could go on holiday 2 times a year, buy a car, have like 3 to 4 weeks vacation, and you could even and still save quite some money. Now, with 2 salaries, you cannot make it anymore in the Netherlands.
Yes.
And this is a trend. I don't know, how is it in Australia?
It's the same.
It's the same, yeah?
It's the same.
Yeah.
So that makes it really interesting because that level of stress, like we talk about survival mode, that, and that activates, as you know, activates our nervous system, etc. So people understand that they're actually operating in survival mode. What does that look like for them before they actually totally hit the wall?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I mean. So in addition to what mentioned, the pressure in the arteries, the pancreas, you also see exhaustion of the adrenal glands. They have to produce this adrenaline and cortisol. So you can do 2 things. Of course, do some actions where, for example, you expend less money or you earn more money. But cost saving would be one thing. That's an action outside of the world. And then it's the inner world to really replenish your adrenal glands, your brain, we are talking about later about stress regulation, breathing, mindfulness exercises, have a short walk. So what works for you to get rid of this financial stress which you cannot influence? I always love the model of Stephen Covey, where you have your circle of influence and your circle of commitment. Many people are operating in their circle of commitment. What I mean with that is that, for example, let's say you're like an environmental activist, and you cannot sleep because there will be some trees going down in Amazon. In the night you are sleeping. So your commitment to the environment, but your influence is not there at that moment. You're sleeping. It will cost you tremendous energy and stress, and also it will cost you nightly sleep, which you have to pay the price for at daytime. So it's a very, very good mental exercise to every time go back, hey, is this something that I can influence? And so, yes, do it. And then that's it. And then it's also the art of radically letting go. And with letting go, I mean, don't pay attention to it, because everything which you give your mental energy grows. When you don't give it your mental energy, it lets go of you. It's easier said than done, but it's a mental exercise which works quite good. And personally, I always love 1% better every day. At 2%, 10% is too much for the brain. It's threatening. But becoming a little bit better every day in, for example, letting go, in relaxing, in changing your outer environment. For example, we with our family, just to give an example, moved from the Netherlands to the Philippines because life is here 40 to 50% more affordable than in the Netherlands. And so sometimes you have to make a bold action to be in better circumstances. And what I found is that this limiting beliefs, the Philippines is so far away. Yes, it's far away, but it's tropical, it's warm, everybody speaks English, it's brilliant, loving people. You have everything here, big malls, nice coffee, nice restaurants. So you literally don't miss anything. Yet you can live the same life, but much cheaper. It's just an example. I'm not saying everybody has to go to the Philippines, but sometimes you have to check, what can I change? So do something in the outer world, do something in your inner world.
Yes, absolutely. Because that was something I was about to ask, how our old patterns that we just keep hanging on to, that we're not prepared to let go of, or that we actually aren't even consciously aware of, and how that is stressing our nervous system. Do you have an exercise or something like that people can do to help recognize that they are operating on old patterns?
Yeah, I will also use it in the scan later, but one of the big things which has been proven in huge corporations, in top sport, it's so-called heart focus breathing. And it's the most evidence-based stress regulation techniques. And if you want, we can do it just very shortly now with the focus, and also the listeners and the viewers. And so put your feet on the ground and sit like an emperor or empress. Put your hands on the heart, and for now just close your eyes for a minute and just feel the warmth of your hands on your chest. And in the East they call your heart your safe place, and it's because your heart from itself is always peaceful and positive. Stress is being made by thoughts in our brain. Touching the heart, you activate your heart, which is 5,000 times stronger electromagnetically than your brain. So the first step is heart focus, out of the brain into your body, into this safe place. And then I want to invite invite you to very consciously, intelligently start your breathing. So I want to invite you to breathe as if you're breathing through the hands and the heart. Charge yourself 5 seconds with the in-breath. And then when you breathe out, let go of everything. 5 seconds. And keep that rhythm. 5 seconds as if you're breathing into the heart area, the hands, and 5 seconds out. And with every time when you breathe out, let go of more and more tension. And then finally, ask yourself, for which positive feeling do I want a little bit more? Let's say, for example, love. Then you breathe in love. The word is enough. And when you breathe out, you relax in love. And this will balance your autonomic nervous system instantly, this breathing, heart-focused breathing. So it will balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic branches of the autonomic nervous system. Okay, so then you can release the hands from the chest and just 10 seconds more, open your eyes and continue with eyes open, the heart-focused breathing, as if these hands are still there. So you also can do this, apply it when there are other people around. Nobody knows you are regulating your stress.
It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing, actually, to feel how much stress you've been holding in your face and your shoulders when you do that intentional type of breathing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this instantly, if I would measure your listeners and viewers and yourself and me with a heart coherence device, and then generally when I do this in groups, I put all kinds of laptops, for example, in corporations. And when I do a baseline measurement, you always see like 70 to 80 to 90% red. That means an incoherent rhythm, because the pressure wave from the heart goes to the arteries and the veins and your whole body. And you're experiencing an unpleasant feeling, which is stress, then you get this incoherent rhythm. If you shift to heart-focused breathing, I almost see it instantly happen on the computers. The heart shifts into this coherent mode, where there is balance between the sympathetic. And then you can regenerate, replenish, and it's the most evidence-based stress regulation method currently in the world when you look at evidence-based. So that's why big corporations use this method. I've trained like Unilever, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, Philips, the Dutch police, both with ConsciouzScan and with this heart coherence.
I would imagine that this would be such a good thing for people who have anxiety or who are struggling with heart palpitations, to bring back a more balanced rhythm, like you say, that coherence.
Sure. Yeah. And what's also very important, what I see is that generally people have not learned how to feel. And all education systems train your thinking, and especially the left brain. And then the right brain, the heart brain, and the belly brain are left out. I was like that when I finished. I'm a business economist originally from the Erasmus University in Rotterdam. I was just so head dominated. When I had relationships with women, they would always say, "Hey, what are you feeling, Daniel?" I say, "What do you mean, what I'm feeling?" I was not aware of feelings. And so I really had to learn how to feel. And this is where I'm conscious about now. If you want to feel well, you have to learn to feel yourself well. And so that you know, hey, for example, in this instance, how are you feeling? This is the $1 zillion question. Pleasant, neutral, unpleasant. Just start very simple. Okay, and if you feel pleasant, what's the dominant feeling? Well, for example, enthusiasm or curiosity. Or if it's unpleasant, what is it? Well, frustration or irritation. Okay, so where am I irritated about? So what's the extrinsic? And this way you learn feeling.
Yes.
And that's what we call notice and ease into the feeling. And then you can go to the heart and shift that feeling to a more positive feeling with activating like a positive feeling, which we just did.
Because most of us are in our head, like you were just talking about feelings, is something that it seems to be such a hard thing. Like most people can describe what they don't want, but they can't describe what they do want and tap into their feelings. Does the way we speak to ourselves internally, like our head talk, can that drain our energy, and can it drain the energy of our organs and have a profound effect on our body? If our head talk is negative, and then if we start switching it to positive, what's the outcome?
This is such a great question. 100%. This is absolutely the case. So when you think a negative thought, instantly, let's say you are having a break in your company, you walk outside and you see your colleague passing and you're waving at your colleague, but your colleague doesn't wave back. A thought could be, he doesn't like me. And this thought thought gives a feeling, for example, of rejection. And it gives you behavior of when you see this colleague of neglecting him. And as a result, there grows some kind of issue between you, unspoken issue. And this will also give incoherence in the heart. This negative thought will create different neuropeptines on the epigenome. So you have your genome, which is like, for example, my blue eyes. Yeah, this is genetic. But the epigenome is what is the factor of influence by your thoughts, your feelings, and your nutrition. And where you can, with strong talk, can heal your body, or you can also make yourself, not consciously, of course, you can become ill of it. So thought training is absolutely crucial. How do you know that you are thinking negatively? Very simple. If you experience an unpleasant feeling. So if you're angry, you are thinking an angry thought. If you're frustrated, you are thinking a frustrated thought. And once you become conscious about that, then you can download literally a more helpful thought. And like, or maybe he hasn't seen me, or maybe he's just in his own world. Let's check with him later. And so you have this break, you see your colleague at the coffee machine, and you ask, hey, John, I waved at you. You didn't see. Sorry, did you wave at me? Oh, I didn't see you at all. And you have this conversation, and maybe you have the same hobby, and you have a great conversation, and maybe you found a friend in your company. Same event, different thoughts, different outcomes.
It is. It's how we frame things in our mind, isn't it? And then how we reframe them to have a better outcome. So do you find that we have beliefs, like society can have beliefs around rest, strength, and coping that may actually be making us feel worse than better?
Yeah, so I know that Vishen Lakiani from Mind Valley, he mentioned those rules.
Oh, from Mind
rules.
Valley? Yeah.
He calls it rules. I love that term. And he calls them bullshit rules. And so these are not helping beliefs which you get from your parents, maybe from your religion, from your teachers, your preachers, which might not even be true, which might be a lie from the beginning. And so it's very, very important to investigate these kinds of rules. Like you have to work extremely hard to make a living, for example. You can also work from the heart and work intelligently and work from a very high vibration, where you attract high vibrational things to you in a more effortless way. For example, if you have this belief about working hard, it's what you will get, because the universe gives you what you want, and it translated, hey, what's the frequency you are sending out? And it answers with the same frequency. And that's what Michael Beckwith says. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. And so if you can raise your frequency, then also things becomes a little bit more effortless. Yes. And by following, this is just one example of a bullshit rule. And there are so many, also so many religious beliefs. For example, I always have to look at religion and see, then there's this religion, and there you have to wear a red robe. And in this religion, you have to wear a beard and a hat. And then the next one, you have to wear like a white robe. It's only beliefs. It's not necessarily true. It's a bullshit rule. It's a rule. And so, because why should you wear here a hat and a beard, and there a red robe without a beard? So why? It's okay, of course, if you believe it. I'm not judging it in any way, but it could be a rule, a bullshit rule. You can as well get total enlightenment just with your polo on and wherever you are, because the divine, for example, could be everywhere. And just an example of another rule. And so there are so many. I'm not judging anything or anyone. Only things I want to invite people to investigate if they are living rules, bullshit rules.
I like that. I love the rules. You know, you don't hear that very often. And I guess to actually diminish the stress and the pressure that we put on ourselves, because like you say, if you put that mental, for example, you know, I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know that sometimes I can have high blood pressure. Would living intentionally, like make everything that we do more intentional, help our whole system?
Yeah, that's also a great question. I think goal setting, which is actually what you mean, setting the right intentions,
Yes,
the
like
right goals,
intentional
is
for ourselves as
yeah,
opposed to society.
so that you live your own sovereignty. And
Mm,
outside of the rules, what do you really want? Really
mm,
authentically, what fits you? What's your blueprint? In Japan, they call it your ikigai. Do something that you love and be good at it, etc. Or dharma, what they call it in Ayurveda. And that's sometimes it's hard because you have all these voices of your teachers and your preachers around you. What sincerely do you want? And so if your religion says don't eat meat, but if you really feel that your muscles just operate better by meat, just deeply thank the animal and maybe eat the meat, or vice versa. If you think I should eat meat and maybe vegetarian is better for you, just feel what your body tells you. That's operating outside the rules. You are authentic, you are divine and sovereign. You don't have to listen to anybody except your inner voice, because the whole world will benefit the most when you are in your total strength. And goal setting and having intentions from this authenticity is extremely important, because goals and intentions give you direction. And there has been research by Harvard Institute that those students who wrote down their goals earn 500% more money on average than people who don't have written goals.
mm.
So it's important to have the right intention with the right goals, which give you energy. Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like sort of, we're taught a lot to become more attentional and aware and not to live our lives so much on autopilot. So it does seem like if you do live your life on autopilot, you're not really thinking about the food that you're putting in, the way you're speaking, the way you're interacting with people. And that does have then a consequence on the body. So to finish off, I know we talked about the breath, but do you have any other technique that our listeners can take away today and do at home that will help them tap into, like you're saying, tap into what are those emotions that we want? How do we feel? Because a lot of people are numb. It's very hard to actually get into that state.
Yeah, well, actually, this is a very simple one, but so underestimated and unknown for some people. And that's what we call earthing. So that means, of course, Australia has a good climate, so it will be a little bit easier there. But for example, in the Netherlands, in the winter, it would be a little bit more challenging. But with barefoot, standing on sand or grass, because we have 1,300 points under our feet, which attract negative ions from the earth, which will de-inflammate your body. And so it's anti-inflammatory. It's one of the most healthy things to do. I think that, for example, Aboriginals always walk barefoot, didn't they?
Always.
Yeah. And so they have this feeling already. So we kind of lost this connection. We always walk with feet, with shoes on, we sleep on beds. So even better would be like to lie on the grass without a shirt on and relax deeply, do a body mind scan or a shavasana, a corpse pose, where you let go of everything and be with Mother Earth, get the negative ions. It's a strange word, negative ions, because it has a positive working in the body. So get the earth energy through your feet, because all the electromagnetic radiance which is around us by Wi-Fi and all the stuff is also in our body and in our mind. So if you touch the earth literally in a second, you can measure it with electronic devices. The whole electrostress goes away from your body. It will instantly feed your body, and you have this book Earthing, where you have these pictures of 10 minutes before and after 10 minutes of earthing, and it's free, ladies and gentlemen. Standing on the earth at your barefoot, you don't have to pay anything, and it's one of the greatest health benefits which are there. So if you just put your feet on the floor, sit on a chair, lie on the grass, take a book, and you will immediately return to your heart and to yourself. And there you will find the space to come back to your senses.
It sounds like a very simple but incredibly effective thing to do.
Absolutely.
And it is actually becoming a lot more popular. And I suppose if they're lying on the lawn or beach or wherever, to then try to let those negative emotions that are coming up, to let them go instead of holding on to them so tight that creates pressure in the body.
Yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show. And now I'm really excited for the live scan.
Thank you again, Rita, and I'm looking for the scan, forward to the scan as well.
Thank you so much. Well, now we're at the exciting part of this interview where Daniel will be doing a mini stress scan on me using the ConsciouzScan Method. And then those results will be at the end of the episode. Like I said in the beginning, do check it out. It's going to be a very interesting session. Hi, Daniel.
Yeah, hi, Rita. Thank you so much for this introduction. Before going to the scan, one short question. What are your top 3 stress sources, if there are any in your life now, work-related or private? And stress we define as experiencing unpleasant feelings which cost you energy. So if there are any, what would be like your top 1, 2, or 3?
Are you saying from areas of my life or where I feel stress?
Yes, in your life currently. What's in the here and now? What's causing you possibly stress?
Well, I think always there is when you're building a business, there's always stress. And so work, I would say, has a definite level of stress. I think also around lifestyle, there would be stress around property, getting property, I guess the future, not that I worry too much about the future, but I do feel concerned about family and their ability to have property here in Sydney. And the other stress would be actually that's causing me stress is part of my health, and that would be my digestion, and that is affecting me of what I can eat, what I can digest, and then my ability to think clearly, because I get a lot of brain fog around it, so that causes me a lot of stress.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's dive into the scan. So for now, there are different possibilities. For now, I do a so-called stress scan, and let's just dive into it. So we start with the head being scanned now. Let's go on, and then I just pause for a moment because people also are viewing, then they know a little bit what we're looking at. So this is, in this case, the rib cage, the whole body. And so your measurement is already being done of this part. We will scan the rest of the body, and you see all kinds of symbols here. So this is the amount of stress building up in your system. So the yellow ones, the 2s, that's optimal. That's super energy. So there the tissue is working optimally. So all I call them the suns with the number 2 in it. Then the orange triangles, we call them the value 3, is also very good. But there's a lot of energy usage, a lot of action and dynamic going on. But it's still also good. Then the reverse triangle, let's say with the blue edge around it, that's a light form of stress. And then the squares here, with the 5 in it, let's say the diamonds, that's a higher form of stress, sometimes also with reactions of the immune system. And then a black square, we don't see it here in your ribcage. It might show up maybe in other parts, it doesn't have to, but that's exhaustion. At that point, the tissue is exhausted. And then with the value 1 in it, that means recovery and regeneration. Like your body is regeneration also at night. That means the body is recovering at a certain point, replenishing its energy. Then here on the right corner, down corner, we have 9 vertical lines with a number. And these are all body frequencies. And let's, I can show you. So in 50 years time, they've brought the whole body down to a certain frequency. So every organ has, let's say, its own radio station, and everything communicates with the speed of light. And it's confirmed by 150 universities that we communicate with so-called biophotons. So we are actual light beings. And every organ has its frequency. Like, for example, the bones operate on 1.8 hertz, the brain on 8.2 hertz, the liver on 4.9, etc. So everything has its own, I call it radio station. And then the blue line is your income of energy. We call it anabolic. And that means by exercise, proper diet, positive thoughts, enough rest, etc. So these are income of energy. The red line is your expenditure of energy. By working, by maybe stressful thoughts, negative emotions, your digestion costs energy. Ideally, the blue and the red line are totally balanced, with blue on top of the red one. In terms of yin and yang, that would means an optimal balance. But let's be honest, we almost never see that, because life is challenging for almost everybody. At least for me, it is. It is as well. So when red is above blue, that means you lose a little bit of energy. So I can see here in your scan a little bit too much pressure, and we come to that later. So this pressure on the connective tissue in the arteries. So that means when you pressure yourself a little bit too much, it costs a little bit too much energy. And it's also, can see here 8.2 hertz, a little bit too much in the head at this moment, which costs you energy. It's typical Western pattern. So it's not a bad thing. It's but it's just to become aware of it, to be what this method is called ConsciouzScan, conscious with a Z, to become conscious about your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, your lifestyle, to change that for the better, to create a next better version of yourself. So now we know what the stress symbols are and the curves. I will proceed the scan. So the scanning itself takes only 1 minute. I will be quiet here and there with the scan because I'm looking at the curves, and then we will analyze further. So let's resume the scan. And so here we see the stomach, the pancreas, the intestines, the liver. Yeah, I will talk just a little bit.
You're scanning all the organs.
It's scanning all the organs. These are the lungs, the heart, frontal plane. Here's what you see, what he's scanning: the heart transverse plane, the adrenal glands. There you lose also a little bit energy. This is the autonomic nervous system, which is also related to stress, the brain. Okay, so now we're done. So let's start with the brain. And you see your left brain is very, very active and a little bit stressed. And again, the same pressure building here. You see it on exactly the same frequency. So let's have a look. So you're overusing your left brain, which is also quite common in the Western world, where we need to plan things, we need to get targets financially. We have all the, you're also a podcast host, so thousands of things on your to-do list. So that's typically left brain work. And the more creative part of the brain is less stressed, so to say. Yeah, it's more balanced. And so, well, let's just have a look what could be some attention points in the brain. Well, it says here very light. So important to know is that we will never diagnose with this technology. It's a coaching, well-being technology, but we can look very deeply. Like in Germany, also doctors work with this technology, and they are able to also to diagnose. But my ConsciouzScan coaches use it for lifestyle coaching, well-being coaching, nutritional. So, for example, we see here it says neurasthenia. And so that could be a light indication that there is a kind of fatigue in the brain, and especially in the left brain. In more extreme cases, it could be like a burnout or depression. This is not the case with you because the number is too light for it, but it's kind of a little preventative warning signal to recharge your brain deliberately, like that you would recharge your iPhone. So literally see your brain as an iPhone. When you don't recharge it after so many hours, it gets empty. And we generally forget that our brain is this huge computer. So my question to you is, what is something that replenishes your brain quickly?
That I do?
So what could help you to replenish your brain if you could see it as an iPhone?
Well, for me, I tend to like to sit quietly or do some form of meditation, and that sort of helps to recharge because it calms my thinking down, because I can tend to be a bit of an overthinker. And I start, wanting to put this and start problem solving everything. And I get, I suppose, a bit overwhelmed. So yes, sitting calmly and intentionally thinking about breathing, bringing more breath, calming my nervous system is what I do to tend to recharge my brain, and drink lots of water.
Excellent. Yeah, I recognize it for 100%. So exactly for me it works to go into the heart. It's a technique from the Heart Math Institute called heart focused breathing, where you literally bring your attention to the heart area. And your heart is electromagnetically 5,000 times stronger than the brain. And then you really do some heart focused breathing. Like you breathe in 5 seconds to the heart area. And when you breathe out, you let go of everything 5 seconds. And you do it for 1 or 2 minutes. And this will totally get you out of the head and will balance the autonomic nervous system. So it's just a tip also maybe for the listeners and viewers. It's actually the most evidence-based stress regulation technique, which I use for elite sports, for for corporations, CEOs. And if I would measure your heart rhythm, it will go from a very incoherent rhythm. And when you do the heart-focused breathing, it will instantly become very coherent and balance your autonomic nervous system. So this is your autonomic nervous system here. You can also see some stress here in the autonomic nervous system. And this, with the heart-focused breathing, will instantly balance. And the accelerator and the brake, or the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches here of the autonomic nervous system, will balance very quickly. So that would be a tip, what we call heart-focused breathing. But any meditation that works for you, so what you're already saying, Rita, is excellent as a recharge method. So let's dive a little bit more into the brain and maybe also look at some psycho-emotional patterns. And the first thing that we see is where you lose energy is an impatience.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
You're not surprised. Okay. It's a challenging thing. Once in my life, when I have a spiritual teacher in India, he's not alive anymore, but he gave me, I never used it, he gave me the name Dhirendra, which means the king of patience. But he gave me the name because, of course, I was the king of impatience. So I was also this typical Western guy coming to an Indian master, and so after 2 years, but it takes a time before you even get such a name, and you get this initiation. After I think 2 or 3 years, he gave me that name. I only use it personally. I just call it out now for the. But it's just, I've learned patience. So believe me or not, I will. When I went to the supermarket, I would deliberately choose the largest line just to practice my patience. And so gradually I became a little bit of a king of patience. So it's doable. So, yes. And the second one is passive aggressive. So that means that it would be healthy for you to express your energy if there is anger, and maybe push on a box ball or scream in your car. Let's say just now and then. You may also let it out in a healthy, organic, ecological way. Otherwise, it gets a little bit too passive aggressive. And there are, especially when you do have your own business, there will be disappointments and all these things. That's part of building a business. You win some, you lose some, 2 steps ahead, 1 step back. And it's also important to process those frustrations and to breathe through them. And maybe also with the heart-focused breathing. So those are the 2 main things I can see here. Then from the nutrient point of view, let's see what could give instant energy to your brain on the nutrients level. That's actually a few things. So lycopene is your superfood at the moment. So your brain will really run on that as it receives super fuel. So what is lycopene? It's a carotenoid, which is found in like red fruits, like tomatoes, papaya, watermelons, rose hips, etc. But you can also order it as a food supplement, of course. I think in Sydney you can buy it somewhere in a vitamin store or online. I would definitely recommend it to you. I work with this ConsciouzScan with top lead athletes. Like I said, I worked for 4 years with PSV, which is one of the top 3 soccer clubs in the Netherlands. We were like 3 times in a row champion, and they told me they had so much benefits from like this ConsciouzScan, also from the nutritional part. So this will definitely help your brain. And the second one is routine. And what's routine? That's a flavonoid, and this is found. It has an antioxidant effect. You see it here. It's also found in, for example, parsley, St. Peterswort, buckwheat, or Canadian elderberries. But also, this is available as a supplement. And then also magnesium. And then you have to take the form bisglycinate. You have different forms of magnesium, but for your brain, it's magnesium bisglycinate, which would be extremely helpful for you.
I find that interesting because I take magnesium bisglycinate like every night. So I'm wondering then if it's low, would I be absorbing it?
Yeah, maybe sometimes it's good to have 2 or 3 different brands of, I found that often with people. That, let's say, brand A fits better to person A, but then brand B fits better to person B.
Yes.
And so that's why I also have like 2 to 3, and I test them with my technology. So I can test it, and then I put it here in the chamber. Then I put in, for example, brand A, magnesium, bisglycinate once a day. I test it on my brain. And then I can see which one fits the best. But for you, it has to be a little bit trial and error. But for now, you can, maybe it would be an advice also to have like 2 or 3 different forms and exchange them.
Just for sorry to interrupt, just for the viewers.
Yeah.
So we understand. So the lower the number on the left-hand side, the lower the number means there's more
resonance.
Resonance means there's more need to correct
exactly.
that.
Yeah. So the lower the number, the higher the accuracy of the measurement. So this would be with an accuracy of probability of 95%. That lycopene would be very beneficial for your brain. It's actually mathematics, it's statistics. And then curcumine would be very good. It's also very good anti-inflammatory. And finally, omega-3 fatty acids, which will be very beneficial. So that's about the brain. And then if we look, you have some digestion issues,
Yes.
you told me, yeah?
Yes.
So let's check, for example, here, the stomach. You see indeed a lot of 5 and 6. Some things are going on there. Let's check the stomach here. Well, unfortunately, there's not some pathology going on, and that's the good news about it. So what I will do is I will calculate instantly a foodstuffs list for you. So this will be an extensive 100% personalized food list for you. It's called here the foodstuff. So I check it, and then you get a 100% personalized list. For example, what would be extremely beneficial for your digestion and your whole energy is, and sometimes there will be strange things on it which you never think about, like a quail egg is something which is very beneficial, or goat meat, or anchovies. Hazelnuts, prawns, beetroot, the egg white of chicken, shrimp, mussels, chicken meat. So everything in green is very beneficial. Then everything in blue is neutral. You can eat it, like Greek yogurt, for example. There is protein in it, vitamins, minerals, but it will not be such a superfood as, for example, an almond, which is in green. And then what's in red, that's to be very conscious about, and leave it out as much as you can. For example, cow milk. I don't know if you do use cow milk.
I don't. I have a dairy intolerance.
Okay, then you already have this good intuition and experience that it doesn't fit you well, because it doesn't, indeed. Same like, for example, Philadelphia cheese, but you leaving out the dairy. That's a good thing, I think. White sugar, of course, is almost for nobody healthy, but for you, extremely unhealthy. Then you see, for example, also pork is something to be very conscious about. Bacon, ham, so everything which is pork related, pork meat will be something to be conscious about. And then I will also look into one second, I'll put this here. in food sensitivities. So what are nutritions where you are particularly sensitive for? That's what we call the food sensitivities. And there are three ones, which is wheat germ, rye flour, and then poultry meat only when you leave it too long out of the fridge. And this has to do with storage. So we saw chicken meat is very good for you, but when you leave it too long, let's say outside of the fridge, then there will be some bacteria and microorganisms which will not fit your gut very much. So all these things that you see here, is there anything here what you see which you use a lot or regularly?
I definitely eat quite a bit of the chicken breast, but I think the ammonines, because I have a sensitivity to histamine, so I think leaving the storage, allowing histamine to build up could be the situation there. Yeah, I don't like mussels. That's histamine. Lobster histamine.
Oranges? How's orange juice?
Yeah, I don't drink it.
Okay, excellent. Yeah.
Oh, so
and there's more going on here. So the list is a little bit longer for you.
Oh, wow. That's a big list. They're all the histamine foods, are they?
Yeah. So it's a lot of histamine, which you're sensitive for. Yeah. So I would pick only those which you do eat regularly. Yeah, just you don't have to answer it now. I will send you the list so you can over it in your own time. And but this is generally very, very helpful. Then, for example, what would be an excellent, if you do have a kind of resonance with gemstones, then garnet would be an excellent choice to wear like on a necklace or something, or put it in your trouser pocket. It will be very healing for your gut and for your digestion. I'll put it in here. Sandalwood is very good. If you do,
I love sandalwood.
Okay, so that's when you use it as an essential oil or maybe also as an incense. That one is very good, as is lemongrass for you.
I like that too.
So let's see what are maybe other things which I can also see there's a sensitivity for you to 5G radiation, which is from mobile phones and mobile phone transistors, so to say. Yeah, so there are devices today. So I use, for example, this thing. It's Dutch. It's called Flow, and it neutralizes all radiation, 3G, 4G, 5G, into natural frequencies. It's like you are sitting in the wood. And I guess also these kinds of things, it's like if you Google or ChatGPT, like neutralizing electromagnetic radiation, you will find plenty of those things, I guess, also in Australia.
Yes.
I do recommend it to you because there is a sensitivity. Let me see for your brain. Yeah, look, your brain also has it, does suffer from 5G a little bit. So it could be helpful to put something on your phone or on your body that neutralizes that 5G radiation. So let's go back to the stomach and let's see if there are any microorganisms. Not in the stomach, not in the intestine. So that's good news. Let's say you don't have a Campylobacter lari or Campylobacter jejuni. Sometimes when you eat something wrong, that could be the case, but it's not the case for you. Sensitivities, pollutants, not so much, just a little bit. And let me see the chakras. I think the most one who needs a little bit attention is your heart chakra. So that you, every time that sometimes when you have your own business, you generally start it from your heart, but then the head takes over.
Yes.
So now and then rethink, why am I doing this? Who am I helping? What do I love about this job? What do I have to change to get back more in my heart instead of my head? And that's what your heart chakra is asking you a little bit now. Then psycho-emotionally, let's look what could play out there. So there is one desire in you, is or a little voice that says, hey, when can I really do what I really want? And this is probably also maybe the same inner fight. When having a business, so when is eventually my turn? The own needs are not considered or are not fully satisfied. One often tries to prove to somebody something and strives for his or her love. One is concerned about others and therefore is much more active than is good for one. And this one also tries to make everything very fast and is afraid of situations in which one cannot act fast. That's the patience thing.
Yeah.
One believes to be not fast and clever enough to succeed. Sometimes you have to be slower. Creativity is lacking. That's the right brain we saw. It would be important to pay attention to own desires, which they call in Japan your ikigai. Doing something you really like, be good at it, and then of course people do need it and you have to be paid for it. Then you're in your ikigai. I think for a big part you already are by doing this beautiful beyond diagnosis thing. I think this is really a project from the heart. I can see it in you all. So this could be an attention point. So then one achieves an harmonious condition and feels no lack of health, luck, love, and material prosperity. So we'll put it in your report as well, and I will send it to you. So I think for now, this is only 10% of all the possibilities. Maybe it's also one more thing to check, some Dr. Rye frequencies, which could be beneficial for you. Yeah, and it says here, this is the gallbladder. And that's the built-up frustration or passive aggressiveness we were talking about. And when you use this Dr. Rye frequencies, it will balance the gallbladder. So I will send them to you as well. It's like a 10-minute audio file, which you have to listen with headphones. And like the coming 4 weeks, once a day, you can use it as part of your meditation, and it will balance the whole gallbladder, which is the most recommended at this moment for the right frequencies. So what I can do now is I will balance, if you like. It's what we also do. I can do a smart balancing. What it does then, it calculates the proper healthy benchmark frequency of each of these points, and it balances your bioenergy field in the here and now. If you like, I can do that for you.
Yes, that would be fabulous.
Yeah? So then I will scan one layer deeper. So we go into the brain, and you see here like the neurocytes, which are also a little bit stressed because of all the things to do. And I go here even to the DNA level. And there you see some energy loss. Do you see? So your blueprint going back to your heart is very important at the moment. So I will help you with that to rebalance also the DNA in this case. And you see the frequency becomes much more balanced. Then we already have 14% improvement on a DNA level, which is very good for the DNA level.
And it can work that fast.
Yeah, it works very fast. It's all quantum physics based. And now I do the neurocytes, and it's very, very fast. And you see, this is the ideal frequency of the neurocytes in your brain. And if we see there, we have a 130% improvement. So everything which blinks now here has become better. Of course, you have to work with all the things we said and take the supplements, etc. But it's a great help in the process. It helps you very strong in the process. You do have to drink a little bit more water, like the coming 3 days, and this will work through like 2 weeks and help you in the process of rebalancing the brain. So finally, I do this level, 75% improvement, and then we balance the whole brain, and we call this a brain boost. I scan myself like two times a month, and I constantly boost myself because I have 7 children. I have also, like you, have my own company. So life becomes top sport then. And then, of course, you need a top mental condition. So this is great. That I have this ConsciouzScan technology at hand also for me and my family. So we boost our children, ourselves. And so that's a big advantage, of course. But look, your brain looks much more shiny now. And I also will do it for your stomach. So I go one layer deeper in the stomach, and there you can see some irritation here on the upper layer of the stomach. Not so much the muscles; they are very good. The muscles of the stomach. This is a little bit stress and also a little bit the wrong foods. That's why I made the personalized foodstuffs list for you. So let's do the smart balancing here as well. This also has a nice improvement, and then we take the whole stomach.
But just because you improve the stomach doesn't mean that now automatically I can eat more of the foods that were...
No. In the contrary, eat more of the foods of the recommended category.
On the recommended, right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you will return to the same situation. So this helps in balancing, but it's the best remedy is taking the right foodstuffs, of course, from the list, and also the mental processes. And then I'll also do it from the intestines here. All right, so I will gonna generate your report, and I will send it today or tomorrow to you, so you also have the information at hand.
Excellent. What a fascinating system.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And yeah, we just only saw like 10-20% of all possibilities in it, because but generally I do like transformation journeys of 5 sessions of 1 hour. For example, a mental scan journey for mental resilience, or a vitality scan journey for more vitality, or a life scan journey where we redesign the client's life together in 11 categories. And yeah, it's fascinating. And the nice thing is you can track your whole progress during the coaching. Every organ, on even until the DNA level, you can check and trace and track and trace the whole. And that makes this method so popular also for left brain dominated people, like in corporations and in top sports. Because there's almost no coaching in the world which can make it visible and measurable what happens in the body and in the mind. And it sometimes also it worsens a little bit. So I had a man from Philips, which is a big company in electronics worldwide. And he was so stubborn. His stomach was so stressed, and red was high above blue, 5 or 6, but he didn't change his nutrition. In the 4th session, again, the same result came up. And then he was so fed up with himself because it was in his face, and it was even worse than session 1, because the technology only measures. If you don't do anything and your situation worsens, it will measure the worsening. So it was worsening on the stomach level. Other parts went better where he did work on, but the stomach even became worse. And then it was so shocking for him. And I thought, okay, my boss is also paying for this coaching and also for himself. And then he went 100% for it. And then 3 weeks later, I scanned his stomach and it looks like a sun. And it was so beautiful. And then he really committed to the nutrition list and everything, and also the psycho-emotional, and he was so glad with it. And he was shining. So sometimes it takes, and the coach, she does have to do the work. Yes, we can do these interventions with smart balancing. We can make supporting frequencies. But if you don't change your mind, if you don't change your lifestyle, this will like carrying water to the sea. So the coach, she does have to do the work, but the thing is, you know exactly what to do, because the technology goes straight to the heart of the matter. And I think that makes all difference in the world.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for doing that scan for me and showing everybody what's possible. And like you say, you're not curing or diagnosing, you're actually changing and showing people where their energetics and their frequencies are off, and it's having an impact on their organs and their emotions and what their emotions are doing to their body. That was such a fantastic experience, and for everybody, that your details will be in the show notes to be able to book in and have the same scan. It's enlightening. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Rita.